Hey YouTube, hope you're having a good Friday night. Not having the best day, which is why I have this ice pack wrapped around my head. My pain is really high and I'm feeling really dysphoric, particularly about my hips, which is becoming a bigger issue. But within this really rough day, brings me to the topic of resources, which is something that I really want to talk about. For me, I have a super long list of resources of things that I do and utilize, especially when I'm having a really hard time. And I really recommend that everybody has a list. I wanted to tell you some of the resources that I use. So obviously, the first resource I use is talking to anybody who's supportive to me, which usually has to be my friends. Some of my family are starting very slowly to come around, so I might talk a little bit to them, but basically when I'm having a really hard day, all I want to do is talk to people who are just going to give me overwhelming support. So I'll talk to my friends. I will go on a Facebook and any other Tumblr, any other place where there is a very strong trans community, and I will reach out. I will, text back and forth a million times or be on the phone with one of my trans friends just so that it's somebody that I can talk to. But I wanted to also bring up things that you can do without those people. The first thing is books. And I am seriously not a big reader at all. I actually do not read for fun because I have a learning disability that makes reading comprehension really hard for me. So it tends to be very frustrating for me to read a lot just because it takes me like 10 times longer than anybody else to read a page and actually understand what it says. But there are books that are very simple and useful to those who are not on the gender binary. One of them is my new Gender Workbook, which is by Kate Bornstein. If you don't know who Kate Bornstein is, I just realized this is all backwards, but that is what it says. Kate Bornstein is an incredible author, activist, trans woman. I had the pleasure of meeting her and getting to hear her speak in college. You might have heard one of my other videos. That's actually the first time I ever questioned my gender. And this is the second edition, I believe, of her book. She has many books that are helpful, but this is certainly one of them. And it is literally a workbook. There are quizzes, there are places for you to write notes, she tells you to write notes. It really talks about gender in a very nitty-gritty specific way, but in a way that anybody can understand. I would actually recommend this book to anybody who is questioning their gender at all. I learned that I actually know a lot more about gender, and I've learned a lot more than I thought I did, than I was giving myself credit for. It's also just in general really empowering, and there are a lot of things that I learned. One of the things that I love about this new edition is that she has all these tweets. So you really get to see not just even her opinion, but, little insight to opinions of other people anonymously. It really helps me when I'm down. It helps me sort through my feelings. There are a lot of thought-provoking questions for you to ask yourself, and it's not very expensive, so I highly recommend picking it up. I got it on Amazon. I will leave a link below in the description for it. Next book, Trans Bodies, Trans Selves. I actually have not gone through and read this Diesel book here, but this is literally an entire book of resources for people in the trans community. It has everything from talking about paying for surgery, to parenting, to adoption. I mean, any worry or concern or any topic that you will have to deal with as a trans person, it is listed in here. It's definitely scary looking at how big this is, but another way to look at it that's more positive is that there's a really thick book that has a lot of information for you that will be helpful. I've definitely flipped through it, but I tend to be somebody who likes to work through just like one book at a time. Otherwise, I sort of lose focus. But I absolutely will get into the deep reading of this as soon as possible. Excuse me. And the last book that I'm going to talk about is a little silly, and there are certain aspects of it that I actually really don't like. But in general, this book will change your life. It is great. Anybody who has had CBT therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, or believes in or is interested in trying it, in my opinion, this sort of goes hand in hand with it. The idea is that there are 365 days worth of tasks for you to do that will make your life more exciting or give you a new perspective or just in general getting you to do something for yourself that might be fun. Mostly, I've actually really stuck to what the book has said. Even certain things that are a little risky. I know there's already a second edition to it. The problems that I have with this book are mostly, there are certain things that are maybe not relevant because this was, when was this printed? It's like, I think from 2011 or something like that, so it's not like it's been a long time, but long enough that certain things in here are not relevant. More importantly, I find actually a couple of things to be rather sexist, which really bothers me. But it's a good way to get yourself to just do something for yourself every day. I sort of dropped the ball the last couple days because I've been super busy, but I do make an effort to do it. Actually, today is rather funny. They say that you should apply for knighthood. I'm on day 41. But I highly recommend working through this, and there's a second one which I'll probably get eventually, and it's just a good way to go about it. So, other resources. I will call, if I'm having a really, really hard time, I will call the Trans Lifeline, which I will, again, leave the number below there in the description. My understanding is it's 24/7. I found it actually in the first issue of Original Plumbing that I got. Thanks, guys, for having that advertisement in there. It's incredible, actually. It's run by trans people for trans people. You can call and have an anonymous conversation. I spoke to somebody recently, I think for an hour and a half. It was late at night, and I was having a really, really hard time, and it was extremely helpful. It's really great to be able to feel like you have somebody who understands you, to relate. You can talk about anything you want. It's just a good way to feel supported. Other things I do are things like my YouTube videos. So I make YouTube videos in hopes of helping other people, and in turn it also helps me, and I hope that I get feedback that will help me as well. I find it I find it therapeutic, and I hope that my videos are helping to give insight and also support to other trans people. On the flip side, I subscribe a lot to YouTube channels that I find are helpful, and I watch basically as many videos as I can. Sometimes it's really hard to stop. People that I like to follow: Aiden Dowling, Ryan Casada, a personal friend of mine, Aiden J. Kaplan, who unfortunately has not been able to keep up with as much lately, but he started transitioning when he was 16, and his entire transition essentially is on there. It's extremely eye-opening and very helpful. So I recommend getting out there, checking out the trans blogs, checking out YouTube channels. So another thing I do, which I've made a video for already, is working out. I exercise every single day. When I don't, even if it's like walking on the beach or walking around a mall, anything I can do to be active and get those endorphins going and make me feel like I'm furthering my transition physically, that helps me, personally. I do know that it's often talked about by other trans guys and that it can help a lot of trans guys, so I highly recommend doing something physical as well. And otherwise, I just sort of do things that I like. I make a point to take the time to relax, to take the time to enjoy myself. Make sure that every single day I'm doing at least one thing for me that I want to do that's going to make me happy, that's not like on my to-do list of things that I have to do. Whether it's catching up on the shows that I like, whether it's, listening to really great music on Spotify, hanging out with my cats. I just make sure that I do something for me. So, in conclusion, there are resources that are out there to help you. You do not have to do this alone. You do not have to sit within your, dysphoria, in terms of, obviously, you're feeling dysphoric and it's there and that's obviously valid. But what I'm saying is you don't have to just do nothing to make yourself feel better. There are ways that you can make an effort and get help and do things that will help you further along your transition and help you hopefully get in a better mood, better mindset, give you some perspective. I know that these things help me, and I hope they help you, and I hope you have a awesome Friday, TGIF. Bye, guys.